Kia ora, I'm Erin J. Doyle. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, hello! I'm a poet, a biologist, and when it's safe, something of an adventurer. And this channel is about those things as well as my journey to finishing my debut novel. So if that sounds like the sort of thing that you might be interested in, perhaps consider clicking subscribe and ringing that notification bell so you can keep up to date with my various goings on and adventurings. With 2020 finally coming to an end, I have, perhaps optimistically, decided to write down some goals for next year. I've made 3 lists. I have personal goals, writing goals, and channel goals. Today I'm just going to be talking about my channel goals and my writing goals, and never mind the personal ones because those are personal, so never you mind. But they exist. So, I think I'm just going to kick off with the writing goals. Some of these are pretty big, but we'll have a go. My first goal for next year is to complete my Camino story. It is mostly written, but I've made lots of changes and things which I've mentioned in previous videos. So my aim is to completely finish all of the little editing, tidying up things that I've been working on, get it through beta readers to an editor, all that kind of thing. Originally I had been hoping to publish it in the first half of 2021. Now I'm sort of easing that back to I just want to have it ready for publication even if it ends up crossing sort of the line and into 2022. Which is actually a weird number to say, but not the point. So this is my major goal, and if any other goal seems to be taking too much energy away from it, or if this turns out to be a lot of more work than I think, then other goals will be put aside to make sure that this one gets achieved. So this is like the goal, and all the rest are like, well, you know, if I have some time goals. But we're still going to work on them. My next goal is to complete a draft of the fairy tale project that I started in NaNoWriMo this year. I did write it from Once Upon a Time through to Happily Ever After, but it's very underwritten and needs a lot of work before I would consider it a completed draft. So I want to get that bit done. And I'm going to work on that in the periods where I can't really do much with the Camino story, like when it's with beta readers or editors and I'm not wanting to make additional changes that they haven't seen and that kind of thing. My next goal is to participate in some local poetry slams. I have done poetry slams in the past, but I haven't really made a habit of it. So I'd like to do that, but I don't want to be too strict with myself in terms of how often I do it or how many I go to in a year or anything like that, because I don't know how many are actually on, and some might be kind of hard to get home from with public transport and, you know, darkness and stuff. So we'll see how it goes. So for this one, I'm basically going to say, if I go to one, job done, I've participated. I'm not going to insist on one a month or anything like that. Also, what if I hate it? My next goal is to submit to all of New Zealand's literary journals, if I can. So there are some literary journals that only accept short stories, and the short story and I are not good friends. I really do very, very short or massive. So both short stories and flash fiction are a real struggle for me. So I'm not going to force myself to write something that I can't write just to get it in a journal, just to tick it off the list. But all the journals which do poetry, creative non-fiction, all those sorts of things which are a bit more my area, I would like to submit to. I also want to participate in Camp Nano next year, and during Camp Nano I'll be working on my fairy tale project again, just to try and, you know, give myself some time to work on it. If the Camino story is being too demanding, well, never mind camp, but time allowing, I would like to participate in it, just to, you know, participate in an event, really. My next goal is to plan out the research that's needed for a story that I want to write called Tales from the Coast, which is not the story I've been working on for the longest, but it's been the one that I've been aware of for the longest, because it actually predates me. Tales from the Coast was a collection of short stories written by my grandmother, and she never published it, and I learned about this collection of stories when I was very young, and I knew that it was just a bundle of papers somewhere in her granny flat, and I thought maybe one day when I was a grown-up I could get them and tidy them up, maybe write an introduction and get them published for her. And then I got a bit older, she got much older, and I started thinking, you know, they were probably not written in a way that would make them easily publishable now, so maybe I would just tidy up and edit them, maybe add a few stories of my own, and perhaps we could sort of co-author the collection. And I was scrambling to try and find this manuscript and discovered that someone had thrown it out. The stories are gone, except in my mother's memory, my memory, the memory of the people who are in those stories, because they were inspired by our family and where she grew up. So I would like to write my grandmother's stories. Obviously it'll be quite different than what she will have written, because I haven't seen what she's written, but I think it'd be an interesting project in general. But it requires a lot of research because it is based on some real people who are still alive and kicking, and also my vague impressions of some stories might not be robust enough to write an actual story from. They're just kind of some anecdotes that I assume are in her collection or were in her collection. So I feel like to write Tales from the Coast I need to go and spend some time in the couple of communities that feature in them, and there's a book that I need to read because it's about one of my ancestors who will appear in the stories, and maybe I need to have a bit of a sit down talk to some of the older relatives who are still holding out. So yeah, I need to do some real research for that, and I just feel like I can't just show up and haha, master the story. I feel like I have to show up with a plan for what I'm actually going to ask people and what places I'm going to go to and that kind of thing. So even if I don't get to start working on the story this year, I want the plan for the research that's needed to be in place. Another goal that's along the planning side of things is I want to write a plan for Hay. So Hay was originally a really big story with 2 parts, and the more I worked on it, the more I realised that those 2 parts barely interacted, and the part which I thought was just kind of the ending actually deserved to be a story on its own because there's so much going into it. So I dissected the 2 apart and I ended up with Hay and the Camino story. So I'm obviously going to be focusing on the Camino story, but I would like to take the bit that is Hay and develop that into a story as well. I don't expect to have time to write it this year, well, coming year, but I would like to make a bit more of a plan for it because the bits of it that I've written assumed they were still connected to the Camino story. So now that I've disconnected it, I need to make a bit of a plan for kind of tidying up the edges, I guess, if that makes any sense. So I need to get that done. I am also going to be working on a secret project. I view this as something of a long-running project, which I will not be telling you about other than the fact that it exists. So I would like to do a bit of a plan and maybe write the introduction for that project sometime in the next year as well. And obviously I can't divulge any further details. Another story that I want to get a good plan for this year is my historical fantasy series. I've started writing this story so many times and it's grown so much bigger than what it was when I started, and there's lots of kind of interwoven storylines, and it's just become this behemoth. And whilst I think I have a good grasp on it, in my transition from discovery writer to planner, have started to doubt how much of a grasp I have on it just in my head. So I want to put some of that plan onto paper so I can actually see how the pieces all fit together and see maybe where there are gaps which I need to think about further before I start writing it sometime in the future. I finally got through the planning part of my to-do list. I am also wanting to participate in some online writing sprints. It's not something I've ever done before, so I don't know if I'll love it or hate it, so again I'm not going to put a minimum frequency for this or anything, but I want to give it a go just to, again, kind of participate with other human beings and maybe also get some writing done at the same time instead of socialising with humans and then being grumpy because they're wasting my time and I could be writing. I'm like, I could do the 2-for-1, that might be a thing that I enjoy. So I want to find out if I enjoy online writing sprints or not. And my final writing goal for next year is to find some more critique partners. I have critique partners, some I've had for years, some are newer. I need new, different people. On to the goals for my channel. None of these goals are going to be about getting a certain number of subscribers or putting out a certain number of videos or, you know, learning new software or anything like that, because my channel is currently itty bitty tiny and it feels kind of a bit too early to be making those kind of optimistic goals. So realistically, the goal is not to become a major channel, it's just to kind of continue existing. So the goals I have are few and relatively small. So my first goal, very important, is I need to get the tattoo that I said I would get in my Trick or Treat Truth or Dare video. So for those of you who haven't seen it, I have to get a tattoo because of a game I played in a video. And I emailed my tattooist before I uploaded that video and I still haven't heard back, and they are open. And I am annoyed, but I'm not like heartbroken about going to a different tattooist because this person wasn't exactly like super chatty or anything, and it was kind of awkward being alone with them completely silent for 2 hours. So much so I closed my eyes and ended up having a nap. So yeah, I wouldn't mind going somewhere else. I did want to go back to them because as much as like we aren't buddies, I appreciate their skill. But there are many other skilled tattooists out there. So I haven't done it yet because I have to find somewhere else to get it done. But I really want to get it done very, very soon so that I can have it, because I want it here. And I need it to heal before I go back to work after the holidays, or at least be on its way to healing, because my skin does not like having Glad wrap over it at all, and I need to be able to wear a lab coat without like leaking on it. So yeah, getting the tattoo is like very high on my priority list right now. My next goal is to film at least one adventure orientated video. This was something I had always intended to incorporate into my channel, and because of COVID I haven't done anything with that. So what I can do, and whether I'll be able to do more than one thing, obviously it's very COVID dependent, as well as the usual time and money dependent, but I would like to do at least one thing to make a video about. Why has it moved? I had to take my camera off the tripod to clear the SD card, and now the framing's different and I don't know what I've done. Like, I think it's crooked. I'm not going to bother fixing it because we're up to my final goal, which is to experiment a little bit with my content. When I went to make this channel, I had a couple of ideas for things that I could try. One of them I've tried and immediately discovered I hate, which is advice videos. And some of the others were more about adventure related content, book related content, and possibly kind of helping world building, talking to experts type content. So I want to have a bit of an experiment because I don't know if I want to make a certain type of video until I've had an experience making it. So I want to try out a few new things, and if they work out well, then do a whole bunch of filming and make them a series on my channel, and if I hate them, well then just delete the footage and pretend it didn't happen. but at least I've learned that I don't like it if that's the case. So I would still consider that to be achieved. As I said, that was my final goal for 2021, so I'm going to wrap it up here. If you liked this video, do give it a like, it helps other people find my channel. And let me know down below what sort of things are you hoping to achieve next year. And I'll see you next week. Bye! If it's not a Harley, don't draw attention to it. Honestly, what's the point?